It came from somewhere else, a perplexing package of panic, a chilling chest containing creepy collectibles and ghoulish goodies. I don't know where it came from, I just got it in the mail. Loot Fright, filled with fiendish features, 4 more frightening finds, each valued at over $50. This month's crate is Season's Grievings, a mystifying mystery box filled with holiday horrors for lovers of Lovecraft and those keeping up with Krampus, on sale until November 15th. Visit the link in the description and grab your spine-chilling subscription with 1, 3, or 6 Loot Frights. Marvel at the mystery. Loot Fright will surprise and shock you. Grab yours today at lootcrate.com/Cinemassacre, enter the code Cinemassacre, and get 10% off. Alright, so today we're going to talk about horror movies that you find underrated. So, so to define underrated, just a movie where you feel like people don't talk about it enough or it deserves more attention than what it gets. So, you want to go first, Tony?
Yeah, my movie seems to be so underrated that even in this big collection of films, it's not here.
Oh, we don't have it here? Let me check the database.
Check the inventory there.
Yeah.
But I really like John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Have any of you guys seen this movie?
I have not. I've seen Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, because the first thing that came to my mind was...
No, this is much scarier than Dracula, Prince of Darkness. This is John Carpenter's return to independent films after Big Trouble in Little China, failed. And it's really, really good. It's about scientists and priests getting together. Apparently there's a church that has this green goo in a jar. This is all going to sound really dumb, but trust me on this.
I'm just shocked that Big Trouble in Little China failed. I love that movie.
Me too.
It failed financially. Financially. It was a big bomb. I've actually went to an interview with John Carpenter where people are they going to make a sequel? And he goes, guys, the movie bombed. Great movie, though. Mm-hmm. It's there's this green liquid that a church has and no one knows what it is, but it's making people go crazy. Homeless people in the city are starting to become zombified. And it's the priest and a scientist who was Long from Big Trouble in Little China, the tour bus guy.
Yeah.
And they were trying to figure out what is this thing? And the movie opens up some really cool ideas. The priest believes in our reality, and then there's heaven and hell that you can go to. The scientist believes in our reality, but then in a subatomic realm, reality changes because you're in this whole different dimension. And they're working together to figure out what this evil jar is. And what we think of the devil is trying to come into our reality, and it's really, really cool. And it seems kind of interesting, but there's something that this movie does that it's one of the scariest things I've ever seen in a movie. In the middle of the movie, you're having fun with all these scientists, and it's kind of creepy. Donald Pleasance is also in the movie. He's a priest.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
The movie just hard cuts to VHS footage, and it's outside of the house, the church. And you hear this distorted voice being we're broadcasting from the year 199. This is not a dream. This is not a dream. And you see this shadowy figure coming out of the church, and it's all distorted and staticky. When I first watched this movie on TV, I thought I had no idea what was going to happen. I thought it was real for a second.
This was your World of the War?
Yeah, War of the Worlds. This is my War of the Worlds. What? What's going on? What? And it's real creepy, and they actually filmed it off of TV to make it even creepier. So it's this idea that whatever they did in the church didn't work. Okay. So people in the future are broadcasting messages into their subconscious. Again, this movie has so many big ideas in it. And this VHS effect chills me to the bone still. Sometimes I'll just watch the VHS scenes, and it's really, really creepy. And the movie didn't do that well when it came out.
What year did it come out?
It was right after Big Trouble in Little China. I want to say 86, maybe?
Okay. I believe it was in the year 199.
Yeah, 199.
That's a year I never heard in a movie or anything.
But I would say everyone check it out. There are some cheesy stuff in it, when the evil comes out of the green jar, it's a rubbery hand. It looks pretty stupid. There's these two main characters that are a love interest, and they're not that entertaining. And the one guy's got this 80s porn stash that hasn't aged well. But Donald Pleasance and Victor Wong is his name from Big Trouble in Little China. They have great scenes together where they're talking about science and religion and stuff, and Give it a chance. Like, it's one of the creepiest things. Oh, and Alice Cooper is the leader of the homeless people in it.
Does Carpenter do a score in it or anything?
Yeah. Oh, great.
Nice.
One of the best Carpenter scores.
Awesome.
Like, this movie is so underrated. People really need to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's been restored HD, I think even like 4K maybe, so it's available.
The green goop sounds like the stuff from The Stuff.
Yeah.
Or that Ivan Ooze had in the Power Rangers movie. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. The green goo is one of the weaker parts of the film, but definitely check out the VHS effect dream sequence stuff. That'll really give you nightmares.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
Well, I really like Halloween 3. I was thinking about, but I know you guys have talked about that at leisure. I love anthology horror films, so I was thinking like Creepshow 2 or like Tales from the Crypt, and then I was thinking about the Tales of the Crypt movie like Demon Knight or Bordello of Blood, and I kind of really want to do Hocus Pocus, but everyone seems to like Hocus Pocus.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to do a movie on that one day.
Yeah, that was kind of popular.
But I brought it here. I decided to review Doom 2005, which I have here on HD DVD.
Yeah.
Underrated.
The unrated. There's 3 pictures of The Rock on the box, which is great. Yeah, so I have the HD DVD of Doom.
I wish HD DVD won. I just calling it Blu-ray was so weird.
Yeah.
Also, the best thing about the HD DVD cases is they have little nubbins on the bottom, so you can stand the thing up on a counter if you want to.
Oh.
Little nubbins.
They don't work that well.
They don't work that well. We'll either do HD DVDs. But they lost the format war to Sony and PlayStation 3. But anyway, I love sci-fi horror. I mean, we've talked about some. I love Alien, The Thing, The Fly, Event Horizon. Doom is just perfect. I feel like if they took the game elements out of Doom, it would have been a really interesting sci-fi film, original IP. But unfortunately, it's Doom, so everyone hates it.
Okay.
I enjoy the movie. I like the first-person sequence.
Yeah.
That's really the standout scene.
Yeah, the first-person scene's great. Watching it now sucks because it's not as good quality or action-y as the new Doom game.
Yeah.
And I love the new Doom game, like Bethesda did. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is very much like a pill for Doom 3, which came out in 2004, the same year as Half-Life 2, which swamped the crap out of this movie and everything.
Game you were telling me about?
I was telling you a Doom mod that is a Wolfenstein.
Oh god.
A Blade of Agony.
I want to play that.
Because there's so many
cool.
awesome Doom mods nowadays, like Brutal Doom and Blade of Agony and all that stuff. And so now nowadays you have original Doom awesome as a game, and you have like Doom back, and you have the mods. Like there's just so much Doom going on. But I want to see another Doom movie,
which they're making. Yeah, not related to this.
And
it's The Rock?
No. It has nothing to do with this movie.
Okay.
It's called The Doom.
It'll be called The Doom.
Starring The Rock.
Doom House. So the thing about Doom that I really like, aside from Carl Urban and the ensemble cast is really good, and they do a lot of weird religious stuff, is, they find stuff on Earth and they can be able to transport between Earth and Mars.
Oh, is this going to be serious now?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I thought that was the joke.
Oh, you thought it was a joke?
I thought it was a joke.
No, I love Doom 2005.
I was waiting for you to pull.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I really want to hear this.
I'll explain.
Okay.
The movie has a rockin' soundtrack. It feels like it's all dark. It feels
rockin'.
like a rockin'. Yeah. It has a rockin' soundtrack. It has a really good sci-fi story about how Martians went to Earth to populate the Earth because their whole planet was becoming a disaster. It was some like ecological thing, and like, oh, they're actually human, and the back and forth between Mars and Earth is really cool. Instead of doing like the Doom Hell energy thing that you see so much in the show. I don't know.
For me, it's like an Aliens clone. Really,
it's fun.
Semper Fi, motherfucker.
One thing I want to mention about this movie, and you were here for some of this, 2016, Too Many Games, I did a panel called the Doom Retrospective, where people thought I was going to talk about all the Doom games, and once I filled up the room, I told them all, I'm only going to talk about the movie. Over the course of an hour, the room got smaller and smaller because I wouldn't stop talking about the movie.
The movie's a lot of fun. If they took out, as I said before, if they took out all the Doom stuff, it would be a good sci-fi story. Much like the Super Mario Brothers movie. If you took Mario out of that, it's a really interesting dinosaur going to their city, Hollow Earth, alternate dimension thing.
The Mario part ruins it.
No, seriously, the Mario part ruins it because it sets these expectations, and much like Doom,
Yeah. Expectations.
I like Doom. What do you have if you think you're so smart and cool, Mike?
Well, as far as underrated movies, I have this one that you might have heard of. It's called The Exorcist.
Underrated.
Now, the reason I like this movie, have you seen The Exorcist?
Never, ever seen it.
I'll stop with that dumb joke. So
That's how you got out.
Do you want to talk about Doom?
That's funny.
yeah. So
The Exorcist, one of the most highly acclaimed horror films. Yes.
the one I actually is The Monster and the Girl. Now I know you guys. All right, I'm done.
The Monster and the Girl is one of the worst of the... it's weird they even released this piece of shit as one of the Universal, because it's not even Universal, it's Paramount. But Universal sort of, I guess they picked up the video rights to all these. But this is not one of the Universal monsters. This is nothing. This is just another one of those movies with somebody in an ape costume. It's shit. All right, what do you got?
Wow, you're pretty pissed off about Paramount.
Okay, all right, I'll stop. So my real pick is Bela Lugosi and the Brooklyn Gorilla. Now this stars a Jerry Lewis impersonator, and it's basically just Bela Lugosi going around with a bunch of apes. It's fantastic. All right, this is not my pick either.
I was about to talk. I like that movie.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, Bela Lugosi did. He also did the Ape Man, I believe,
And the gorilla.
and the Gorilla,
Yeah.
and then Karloff did the Ape. So it's very confusing.
Jeez, Mike, it's fucking trick or treat, not 7 tricks and no fucking treat.
Okay, all right. So you want to be serious?
Give me all these.
James and I spent years and years and years editing Monster Madness.
Yeah.
And you guys do all this horror shit. So I'm looking at all this, blood and guts and vampires and werewolves, and it's like nothing affects me anymore. I don't know about you, but it's like I'm so jaded to everything that's like nothing scares me. So the one thing that I can tell you that really does scare me is the idea of getting Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scares everybody, right?
Because that's a realistic thing that can
So
happen.
I saw this movie, and I'm not saying it's my favorite movie ever or super great, but I think it's a decent movie because I watch it and it scared the shit out of me because the person in the movie had Alzheimer's disease, and then they get possessed by the devil. It's like a possession movie on top of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So when I watched that kind of freaked the shit out of me.
What was the name of the movie?
The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about that.
I don't think it's the best movie or anything. I'm just saying it was the first thing I had watched in a long time that freaked me out.
Yeah.
So that I thought was okay.
I think I saw the trailer for that. It's like Paranormal Activity meets The Exorcist meets your worst fear ever of getting
Well, that's what I was
Alzheimer's.
going to say.
kind
Wasn't
of
it
like
like
that,
you're telling me it wasn't found footage? Like there wasn't like
No, it's a movie.
No, it's a movie about some college girl trying to do a documentary on someone who has Alzheimer's, and things get
I can see
spooky.
why you would think.
Yeah. Because I've seen it before, but my memory is shit. So I don't remember. All I remember is something with like her mouth opening up.
That's
really
the ending of the movie.
Yeah,
I actually don't like that movie very much. I don't like the ending of it very much. But the first half of it, I was like, this is.
Yeah, I've seen the animated GIF of someone eating someone like a million times.
Yeah.
That movie.
That ruins it. Watch the first half.
I think you actually recommended this to me like a year ago.
Well, do you feel like that with any movies where you're like, I like this part of it, but not the other part of it?
Well, yeah, I feel like that with a lot of movies.
You were right. Yeah.
I would say most movies.
But
Yeah, right. So there you go.
I remember you recommended this to me actually, and it was on Netflix for a bit. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finally watch it. And as soon as I went to watch it, it was like no longer streaming, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
You're talking about the Universal rights and stuff earlier. I hate when Netflix and Amazon Prime lose something, then bring it back, then lose it again. That ticks me off.
Yeah, me too.
And I just realized this is a Universal movie. But is The Rock a Universal monster?
So James, what's your pick?
Well, you know what? It's like mine. Because there's probably tons of them, but just off the top of my head, The Raven, 1935, starring Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff. I actually thought it was pretty underrated, but just before we did this video, I looked it up just to see what people thought of it. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has 100%. So maybe it's not underrated. No, it is. See, the reason I think it's underrated is because it's a Universal monster movie, but it's a human monster. It's a psychological horror film, and maybe even like one of the first like torture horror films. And when you stack it up against all the other Universal monsters, people don't really come to this one much. Like, they talk about Lugosi in Dracula, or even as Igor in Son of Frankenstein, but I think this is his best performance ever because he's so good at playing like a demented, character. Because I think another reason is that there's another movie, The Black Cat, which came out the year before it, and The Black Cat, which it's also Karloff and Lugosi. People usually talk about The Black Cat. I think that overshadows it, and I don't think Black Cat is better than The Raven. It's a more stylish movie, but the plot isn't as good, and it doesn't follow Poe as much. Because, The Black Cat has, nothing to do with Poe, except that there's a black cat in it, and they refer to the black cat. The Raven is really about the poems. So basically, they have a character, the Lugosi character, Dr. Volland, is a fan of Edgar Allan Poe, and he references the poem a lot and the longing for the lost Lenore, and he compares that to what's going on in his life. But let me explain about what goes on with Dr. Volland, and I think it's one of the most complex motives for a killer in a movie of any kind, because from back then, think about what was going on at this time. There was Dracula. What does Dracula want to do? He wants to suck people's blood to stay alive. Yeah. What does the Frankenstein monster want to do? He just wants a friend, basically. Yeah. But Dr. Volland, it's a lot more complex because he's basically this famed brain surgeon who's this genius, and he's the only one who's able to save this girl after a car crash. So she gets in a car crash. He does a brain surgery on her, like last minute emergency, and he saves her life. And then he starts to feel like he's owed something for it. So that's one part. So he wants to marry her, but she's engaged with somebody else, and he starts being really creepy. And he keeps going back to that poem, longing for the lost Lenore. So he feels that he's losing something the same way Poe did. And also just the fact of being a fan of Poe, that he rebuilt all this torture equipment that's described in the Poe stories. And so he's basically he lives out his dark fantasies of torturing people. So he's torturing the people who are the girl's father and her fiance or whatever.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah, he goes so dark. It's so dark for a movie back then. And just to think how shocking that would be, all this torture. So it's basically he's motivated by being an extreme fan of Poe, wanting to have revenge against these people, and plus just he had this ego, because he's this genius brain surgeon, he kind of just goes on this power trip. And you don't really get a complex villain like that in those type of movies. And then on the other side, the Karloff character is a criminal. He wants his face changed through plastic surgery because he's a criminal on the run, to hide his identity. And Lugosi ends up fucking up his face, mutilates his face, and then basically says I'll change your face back, I'll make you look good if you do my bidding. So he becomes his henchman. But then toward the end, the criminal, he turns on Lugosi. So the criminal turns out to be the good guy in the movie. Hero, yeah. And the world-class brain surgeon doctor turns out to be the bad guy. So it's kind of interesting, these two polar opposite statuses that these characters have, and one's turns out to be the bad and one turns out to be the good.
Real quick, this sounds so much better than The Raven starring John Cusack that came out a few years ago, where it's, I didn't actually even watch this movie, but the trailer made me roll my eyes in the back of my head. If there's a killer going around killing people in the style of Edgar Allan Poe, and John Cusack, who plays Edgar Allan Poe, has to work with the police to hunt him down. And it's John Cusack, he looks horrible as Edgar Allan Poe. Is this a real fucking movie?
Well,
this seems like a joke movie.
They're riding on the success of Sherlock and Elementary and all these Sherlock Holmes stuff
I guess,
that came out.
But this sounds way better than this movie that just came out.
And to not confuse it, this is The Raven from 1935, because there's also a 60s version that also has Karloff. Yeah. But it also has Peter Lorre, Vincent Price, and Jack Nicholson.
Oh,
yeah.
I want to watch that.
But yeah, that one's good too. But it's different. It's very different. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And it's also, you know how long that movie is, The Raven?
How long?
It's 1 hour, 1 minute. So you don't have much to lose. In fact, it would work good as a double feature with the Black Cat, and they even released the two of them on the same VHS tape once. So,
That's funny.
So it's the Black Cat first, and then it's the Raven. So
Man,
yeah, that's mine.
I'm glad you came in here with some like heavy like film history, Silver Age, like Universal good stuff, and I bring something that's another 52 minutes of poop from that 101 Doom like an asshole,
which is getting remade and will probably also suck. But yeah.
Well, happy Halloween. It's Cinemassacre's Monster Madness Live. Get into the Halloween spirit with a double dose of spooky schlock. We're hosting a double feature, 2 public domain horror cult classics, The Terror, starring Jack Nicholson and Boris Karloff, and House on Haunted Hill, starring Vincent Price. Watch them with us tonight. Immediately after, we will rebroadcast the entire history of Monster Madness from 2007 to the present day, all in their original unaltered form. That's right, every episode ever. It's Monster Madness Live, followed by Monster Madness The Complete Marathon.